there is someone you know who has made their whole career about building up a fake, nice persona, who constantly tells you how nice they are and even signs off with the same words about positivity over and over and over again, almost like a mantra. Only people who know them behind the scenes know that all of that is kind of just an act. If you met them in real life behind cameras, you'd quickly realize how nasty they were. Their niceness, you would realize, wasn't actually real. Nobody who actually is nice, it has to keep telling you over and over and over how nice they are. Instead, it was all fake to get an audience and to get people who actually knew the truth from spreading it. When everyone thinks you are a nice person, talking against you is always going to be an uphill battle. I am, of course, talking about Ellen DeGeneres. Once we knew the truth about her, we finally realized why she kept telling us over and over and over again how nice she was of a person, and why she even had this weird catchphrase about kindness.
Just be kind.
Yeah.
She was simply trying to build an audience and a reputation that she could use to shield herself against the truth. She didn't know that she was actually using some of the same manipulation tactics that cults use for the same reasons. But she probably would have been better at it if she had learned those techniques, because she had been all of her life in and out cults, familiarizing herself with tactics that they use to maintain and build a reputation. Anyway, Wally made a video about me. Let's talk about it. In this channel, I usually talk about Jehovah's Witnesses manipulation tactics and indoctrination techniques. I focus on making videos, looking at the videos that they make, and then fully debunking them by showing you the cult indoctrination at play. One of the things that I've been meaning to talk about is doublespeak. Jehovah's Witnesses will do this thing, well, they will tell you one thing, but also the other thing. Look at homosexuality, for example. When it's about Jehovah's Witnesses talking to other people, well, the answer is always something like, however, once you are actually a Jehovah's Witness, you know that the answer is more akin to something like,
He made them male and female, and the two will be one flesh. Jehovah's purpose for humans is clear, but Satan's world now says that marriage can be between two men or two women. Again, really?
This is doublespeak, and a lot of people don't talk about this, but this is a very reliable manipulation tools that Jehovah's Witnesses use, not just to convert other people and to find like the best, most cosmetically nice way of putting their own beliefs, but to keep Jehovah's Witnesses themselves indoctrinated. You see, a Jehovah's Witness may come to realize, yeah, you know what? Being homophobic is actually bad. I shouldn't be homophobic. But also, the Jehovah's Witness will remember all of these little times that the Jehovah's Witnesses have said that they're not homophobic. So the Jehovah's Witness can be homophobic, following all of the homophobic rules that the Jehovah's Witnesses do, but also believe that they're not homophobic because the cult told them that they're not homophobic.
My moms are both really proud of me. I was raised by two wonderful women, you know, life partners.
Oh, yeah, you know, my assistant Marty, I recently found out that he's gay.
You say that like there's something wrong with it. Do you have a problem?
Tess, don't do this.
Why? There's nothing wrong with being gay.
Tess, we live by the Bible's moral standards, but we don't force our beliefs on other people, and we don't judge anyone either.
Really?
Or let's talk about Jehovah's Witnesses coverage on Norway, for example. The Jehovah's Witnesses have been fighting the state in Norway for their religious registration. The state decided that they didn't deserve a religious registration because they shunned children, and they removed it. So the Jehovah's Witnesses tried to get it, but the jury upheld that. However, the Jehovah's Witnesses appealed that decision, and the Jehovah's Witnesses ended up winning that appeal, which means that now everything is going to go to the Supreme Court, because they can't seem to agree. Like, the jury can't seem to agree on whether or not they should keep the religious registration status. That is not how Jehovah's Witnesses reported about this, though. This is the page that Jehovah's Witnesses use to update other Jehovah's Witnesses about the ruling in Norway. And if you read through it, I recommend you do, so you realize that I'm not misrepresenting the argument. The Jehovah's Witnesses make it seem like everything is over. They use things like Court of Appeal unanimously overturns unconstitutional ruling in Norway. And the whole article is about how they basically won. This is over. However, they have this tiny little thing right in the middle. It says the state may still appeal this decision to the country's Supreme Court. This whole article tells Jehovah's Witnesses that they actually won in Norway, and it's basically over unless, maybe there's a chance that it goes to the Supreme Court, but it's almost over, basically over. And this whole article is telling their group why this is beneficial for their group, the Jehovah's Witnesses. This is misinformation because obviously it doesn't portray the facts accurately. This isn't over. And the fact that they added just 5% of the article talking about the Supreme Court like something that may or may not happen doesn't absolve them of spreading misinformation. It's just not enough. It's just 5% of their whole article. You can't say that they represented the truth accurately because they only spent 5% of the article just somewhat referencing, paying lip service to the truth. And that gets us to Wally. 5 days ago, he released this video talking about me with the title, "Apparently I Am Lying and Spreading Misinformation." And this thumbnail, which makes me feel some kind of way. Like, I get that he wanted to show my face, and that is a great screen capture of my face. Like, honestly, I would have gone for like a far stupider face. I do far more of those. But why is he forcing my avatar to spank him? Like, it's just, I don't, it just feels like, why do we go there? And he starts this video with this.
All right, to kick things off, I just want to say this isn't any drama. This isn't any fighting. This isn't, we need to fight Watchtower and not fight amongst ourselves. In order to fight, two people need to be punching at each other, and I am doing no punching.
Brother in Christ, you made a whole video about me and airing your grievances against me. This is nothing but doublespeak. The definition of YouTube drama is basically when two YouTube creators have disagreements and they air it publicly instead of privately. That's YouTube drama. Wally is doing YouTube drama, but he opens his video doing YouTube drama by telling you that he is not doing YouTube drama. I'll be honest with you. This is about a disagreement that I have with Wally, and I'm airing this publicly. I have absolutely no issues in admitting that this is drama. I just wish that we could just agree that, yeah, this is drama. Wally is doing drama. I am doing drama. This is drama.
Also, quickly, before we get into it, just wanted to say a quick thank you to the persons who sent this to me. I don't really track the things said about me online. I'm gonna be completely honest, don't really care. And I do apologize for never replying to your DMs or emails. Sometimes I don't even open it. I just but I decided that we should clear the air on a few of these things. But I do want to say, hey.
This is fascinating because let's just say that I don't think that Wally is saying this because Googling your name and coming up with all of this stuff is kind of cringe. Like, let's just say that this isn't him trying to hide the fact that he literally did this. Let's just say that this is true. That means that Wally didn't research this whole video. This whole video that he made, 40 minutes of this, is based on someone else's research. And I feel like maybe you should make a little bit more research before talking about someone, especially because he is going to say a few things that I especially disagree with, and I think that some research would have saved him from it.
Anyway, this first bit is something about Norway, so let's watch a clip here.
The state may still appeal this decision to the country's Supreme Court. This is telling. And as I hope that you realize, this is because it's pretty much impossible that a judge won't look into this, right? That the Supreme Court won't be looking into this because this is pretty much a case for the Supreme Court. And in this article, the Jehovah's Witnesses even show they may still appeal, that this isn't even fully won. And I thought, oh, is this like journalistic integrity? But I don't think it's journalistic integrity. I think that it is so sure that this is going to go to the Supreme Court that they're even talking about this in this puff piece, talking about like how this is only about Jehovah and how this is like a big win or whatever. They're talking about this because they know that this is going to go to the Supreme Court. So when the Jehovah's Witnesses look it up, they can see it and they can be like, oh yeah, they did mention that it was going to go to the Supreme Court. But anyway, it does show more journalistic integrity at least, or at least more accuracy than what Lloyd and Wally reported, being like, yeah, no, this is basically over. It's all over. We lost, but hey, we won because the real win are the friends we made along the way. No, it's not over. It's not over. Like, why are you telling my audience that it is over when it's very clearly not over? Like, I don't want you guys to feel down. Yes, this is bad, right? This isn't ideal. But also, this isn't over. And it's not over until it's over.
And then in the comments, I'm sure I've seen this already. Also, why are you dunking on Wally? And he says, spreading misinformation. Someone says something or another. Wally and Lloyd reported on the JWs winning the appeal as if it meant the whole process was over, which is a lie. I just pointed out here, even JW.org. They managed to report it more accurate. I didn't even know that I was pretending. I didn't know I was cosplaying as the Norway case and that it was going through a dramatic death scene.
Now, calling out Jehovah's Witnesses when they misrepresent the truth is kind of the reason why I made this channel, is what I do in every single one of my videos. So when I saw Jehovah's Witnesses misrepresenting the truth in this case, I obviously thought of covering that in a live stream, just being like, hey, by the way, like, this is not accurate, this is misrepresenting the truth. And in order for me to make sure that I had the full truth, nothing but the truth, I did what I very seldom do, and I actually checked what other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses were reporting on. And what I found was pretty disheartening. I realized that both Lloyd and Wally had reported on the case, like the Jehovah's Witnesses had, almost saying that this was basically over, and dedicating a very little amount to talking about how this may go to the Supreme Court. And even then, they talked about it being like a possibility and not what was most likely going to happen. In Wally's 17-minute video, he spends 40 seconds talking about the possibility of it going to the Supreme Court. And like the Jehovah's Witnesses, he talks about it being maybe a possibility that could happen and not something that is almost certainly going to happen.
It looks like the only option now, don't know why my voice just cracked there, is to take it to the Supreme Court, which we'll have to wait and see if the state is going to do that. So if this does get appealed, and anyway, I don't know exactly how the whole law and everything works there in Norway.
40 seconds out of 17 minutes is 3.92%. If we really want to be pedantic, he spent less than the Watchtower spent giving lip service to the possibility of it going to the Supreme Court. And even then, he misrepresented as maybe a possibility that maybe could possibly happen and not what is actually going to happen.
We'll have to wait and see if the state is going to do that.
Most of the video, Wally spends talking about how this is actually a really good thing for his group, the ex-Jehovah's Witness community.
Watchtower, you can enjoy your Pyrrhic victory for now. But just know that you parading around how God was with you all along and you will always win. Did you really win though? At what cost? Because I look at the situation and I see this timeline. I don't think it will be lost on them to look at the governing body and say, are you guys really the sacred guardians of our doctrine? Or are you guys willing to change things for the sake of saving face with some governments around the world?
If you believe that the Jehovah's Witness report was misinformation, then you have to believe that this report that is basically the same as the Jehovah's Witnesses is also misinformation. So when I was making that live stream, it felt like I would be a hypocrite if I only called out Jehovah's Witnesses for spreading misinformation, but I didn't try to call out the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who were spreading the same kind of misinformation that the Jehovah's Witnesses were spreading, as hopefully by now, I've made it clear. This is the kind of thing that I would like to be called out on if I got it wrong, because I know how important this case is for the Jehovah's Witness and for the ex-Jehovah's Witness case. And I've been following it very, very, very closely. So I hope that people would call me out if I make a mistake like this. But Wally, of course, doesn't like it. And sure, look, maybe it's fair. Maybe I shouldn't have talked about him like that on my channel. Maybe I shouldn't have used my platform to call him out. Maybe that's like too much of a public thing to call him out. Like maybe there is a way to call him out, but maybe this isn't the right way of calling him out. But you'll find that finding a way of calling him out is pretty much as hard as finding a way of calling out the leaders of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't even remember 100% what I said. So I guess this could be semi-accurate. I don't know, but let me watch my video back and see what I said, so maybe we can clarify this information. I don't remember saying that it was dead, so anyway, let's have a look-see. The Jehovah's Witnesses have done it. They have won their appeal in Norway.
Looks so much
better. In a shocking turn of events and reversal of momentum, it looks like the only option now, don't know why my voice just cracked there, is to take it to the Supreme Court, which we'll have to wait and see if the state is going to do that. So anyway, I thought I'd give you some of my thoughts about the situation. So let's do it. Well, that didn't take long.
That's literally his whole takedown. That he actually did pay lip service to the possibility of it going to the Supreme Court, which makes it all okay. Ironically, in the live stream, I predicted that line was there in the Jehovah's Witness coverage. So the Jehovah's Witnesses would look at it after this went to the Supreme Court, and they could just hyper focus on that, ignoring the rest of the article and be like, oh look, they didn't actually lie. They actually did mention the truth all along. The Supreme Court is right here, while ignoring everything else. And I thought, oh, is this like journalistic integrity? But I don't think it's journalistic integrity. I think that it is so sure that this is going to go to the Supreme Court. So when the Jehovah's Witnesses look it up, they can see it and they can be like, oh yeah, they did mention that it was going to go to the Supreme Court.
Well, that didn't take long.
I said that in the live stream. I didn't think that Wally was going to be the one doing that to me specifically and personally. Again, I invite you to watch Wally's coverage on Norway. I leave the link down below, so you can make sure that I'm not misrepresenting the argument. But you may think, hey Caleb, like that is too much of a public thing. Like you shouldn't use your public platform. Like, you know, you have what, 1,000 people watching that video. That is too much. You should be better. Like maybe you shouldn't just use your platform. Obviously, nobody is beyond criticism, but this is the wrong way of criticizing him. Well, let's see the other issue that he has with me.
Let's move on. Right, this next bit comes from Reddit. $500 million spent on construction projects. In a recent video from Wally, he says that the org has spent $500 million in 1 year on construction projects. I'm wondering if anyone knows where he got this number from. Did I not show the screenshot on that? Maybe I forgot to put the screenshot on there. I know I've shown it like 5 times, but yeah. Oops, maybe I forgot. That's my bad. Let's see, this next is Danny Lopez. I guess I'm to assume that this is Mr. XJW Caleb.
Yeah, he is to assume that that is me. That is my own personal Reddit account. I feel almost doxxed because, you know, this isn't my Caleb account or anything. This is my own personal Reddit account. And Wally doesn't like the fact that I commented on someone else's Reddit post talking negatively about him in my own personal account. Let's see his argument.
In that video, he also uses bad math to prove that JW's in need got 400 USD. I certainly didn't. That's wrong, because I never said that.
Let's just break down what he said in the video. In the video, he uses some calculations that he made up to calculate how much every Jehovah's Witness affected by a natural disaster would be entitled to, I guess, if the Jehovah's Witness leadership was spending the relief fund on them. And he came up with the number of $400.
So of the people that were displaced or evacuated, that totals something like 13,500, somewhere in that range. So what's that? $6 million for that many people is $400 a person? 2 nights in a hotel with maybe a sweatshirt and a McDonald's meal for a couple of people? That's wrong, because I never said that.
And then he mocked that because $400 to him is just not enough.
This is nothing to brag about. Like $400 per person. That's not going to get you very far. That's for all the people, because I never said that.
Now, this is a very odd thing to say because Jehovah's Witnesses don't do that. As far as I know, no Jehovah's Witness has ever gotten any money for a relief fund. Just so, just $400 cash. Like, I don't know if this is because Wally is like independently wealthy or something, but $400 is a lot of money. If Watchtower was giving $400 to the people who were affected by some sort of natural disaster, I would be praising them for it. So when I saw someone on Reddit trying to make sense of the numbers that he shared on that video, my point was just basically, hey, look, the numbers over there are very dodgy. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Now, I did that from my own personal Reddit account. I know that maybe I didn't explain it very well or whatever, like my issue that I have with him, but I wasn't making a whole video about it. I'm pretty sure, and I'm gonna level with you, that I wrote all of this on the toilet. Again, this is my own personal account. I never thought that someone was going to make a video dissecting the way that I explained it. Otherwise, I would have probably waited until I was done at the toilet. If I had, I would have said something like how what Wally does is nothing but slop content. Slop content refers to high volume, low effort videos with sensational titles, frequent uploads, and minimal original substance, created primarily for profit and engagement. They usually use as little research and editing as possible because slop content creators care about one thing and one thing only: engagement. Have you ever watched a video about some relevant topic just to finish watching that video and realize that you didn't actually learn anything new? That was probably slop content. And the main issue with this content is its lack of accuracy. At the end of the day, slop content isn't about being accurate, it's about being the first one, and about being the most clickbaity one. Doing research takes time. It takes me the very least about 3 days per video, although I've been working on some scripts for over a year now. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm immune to mistakes. We all make those. The issue with slop content is that since you're not doing any research, you'll make mistakes far more often, and you won't know how to accurately report anything. And that is exactly the main issue that I've noticed in Wally's content.
Watchtower has been playing a word game for quite some time, where they say, we never ask for donations, we never pass around collection plates, we don't make people donate money, we don't do any tithing, and yet they kind of do. Now, all of this culminates in a recent announcement that went out August 2024, where they are informing people that there's going to be something called a resolved monthly donation, which is just another word for tithing. So I just think it's important to highlight this because this is a long clapping break that has been taken here, and he does not participate. He is not going to budge. Again, I don't know for sure. I can't read his mind, but it would suggest to me that this is his way of saying he's not too happy about the situation. Before we get into this whole thing, I'm not an expert. I don't know. I'm not claiming that I have intimate knowledge about anything, but it's my opinion, it's my understanding that whatever side of a court case is bringing forth a witness, that sometimes comes with a cost. I don't think that this guy is going to show up and want to defend the Jehovah's Witnesses out of the goodness, the kindness of his heart. The point I'm making is sometimes there can be this thing called science for sale or experts for hire. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that left the Jehovah's Witnesses as a direct result of the proceedings with that Norway trial. There just is. I've had so many people reach out and they said, yeah, after seeing what Watchtower was saying about the case and what they knew as the practices, shunning. Shun people? Preposterous. We have no such thing. They saw the organization for what it is. Where they speak out of both sides of their mouth, where they are willing to lie in court under oath, where they're willing to pay these experts in order to give favorable opinions.
And I was trying to tell this other dude, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I don't really think the maths check out. But apparently, I can't criticize him with my own personal Reddit account to 3 upvotes. And remember, one of those is mine. So, like, 2 people upvoted him, and that is enough for Wally to make a video about this. And weirdly enough, he can't help but do doublespeak in this bit as well. Because my point is that saying that they got $400 is giving them way too much credit, because obviously the Jehovah's Witnesses are never going to do that. Because more likely than not, all of that money for relief work is actually spent in kingdom halls. That is literally what Wally just said. We agree on it, right? So when I say that they most likely spend all of that money in kingdom halls, Wally's gonna agree with me on that, right? Because this isn't like him just disagreeing with me. Like, obviously, he just said that.
Again, money for relief work doesn't go to JWs. It goes to kingdom halls. Well, we don't know that for like an absolute 100% fact.
Isn't that... Did you not just say that? Why are you against me? Because I said what I thought you agreed with.
I personally think 100% of the money goes to repairing kingdom halls. We don't know that for like an absolute 100% fact. I'm glad he removed it from the thumbnail at least, though. Boy, this is exhausting.
Bro, we are 8 minutes in. If this is exhausting, you can stop at any moment. What's up with all of this doublespeak, man?
Yeah, the point of that was to say even if they were to spend that money and it went to Jehovah's Witnesses, just regular people, it would be a embarrassing amount of money. Like, even if, I don't know, maybe a language thing, I don't know.
No, it wouldn't. It would be a really good amount of money. Like, I'm sorry, am I too poor? It's just, I don't know if this is because I'm too poor or because he's too wealthy, but like, if he thinks that $400 is a laughable amount, I'd love to get that from him, like every day, like however much he can. Like, I'd love to get a little nothing amount from him.
Did he take into account that most, if not all, of relief work is focused exclusively on kingdom halls? You know what? I am so confident in this. I'm gonna snap my fingers and play a clip of me literally saying that in that video. And I suspect as well that damage to kingdom halls is included. I would be willing to wager a significant amount of money that 50% of the money that they say they're spending to help other people, at least 50% of that is purely going to fixing buildings that they own. That's generous, because I really think it's 100%. Honestly, in my heart of hearts, I think 100% that they are just fixing property that they already own, or they're helping people that have insurance so that they can reclaim the insurance money and recoup their losses, which means you haven't spent anything at all. Well, we don't know that for like an absolute 100% fact.
So we both believe in this. Like, we both agree. Why is it that there's a need of doing this doublespeak where he literally just disagrees with that statement when it's me saying it? And look, if I'm honest, I don't think that this is a very strong point. I don't think that this is a particularly strong issue or a big gripe that I have with him. I didn't make a video about him. I commented it on my own personal Reddit account on someone else's post. And now he's showing it to close to 15,000 people because he's upset that I got it, 2 upvotes. Like nobody saw this. If someone was making a comment on Reddit about a disagreement that they had with me, I wouldn't make a video about it. It's just not important. But to him, this disagreement is so important that he needs to make a video about it, making drama while pretending that it's not drama.
This isn't any drama. It's bad speculation. The fact that he acknowledged it doesn't make it less bad, just makes it bewildering why he put forward a bad speculation and makes it obvious this is, like I said, not serious analysis and shouldn't be taken as such, which is why I said in my original comment, thinking that the relief fund goes to funding the governing body travels is also bad speculation. I mean, I don't think that's the craziest thing. Well, we don't know that for like an absolute 100% fact. Well, I am unaware that that is a 100% factual truth, that every single 100% of the dollars that they claim all go to kingdom halls. Apparently, I'm missing some information. I personally think 100% of the money goes to repairing kingdom halls.
Last Christmas, I made a video about something because I realized that Jehovah's Witnesses teach us to relate misery to Christmas. And I couldn't help but notice that, again, Wally and Lloyd made videos about Christmas. And in both of their videos, they talk about some of the most horrendous times of their life, almost as if they were still relating misery to Christmas. I found that curious because That's what I used to do. I used to do the same thing. So I postulate that if that's something that's happening with you, then maybe you should talk to somebody like a therapist, which is what I did and what did wonders for me. Because you don't need to relate Christmas to misery, but if that's something that you've been doing all of your life, you're probably gonna need a little bit of help from someone who knows how minds work to help you with yours.
A year ago, I was very unhealthy, an alcoholic, slowly killing myself. And I would think to myself that I would never be able to be healthy. Like, it seemed impossible just going a couple of days.
To illustrate the point, I use the couple of clips that I was referring to when I was talking about Wally and Lloyd. Since they are far, far bigger creators than me, I thought that the risk of offending them was worth taking as long as someone could possibly learn something. If someone, I thought, saw that and saw themselves in that and realized that they were doing what the Jehovah's Witnesses taught them to do, to relate mystery to Christmas, and decided to go to therapy for it, then I thought it would be a good thing. I thought it was a risk worth taking.
If you don't deconstruct your beliefs by learning enough and getting enough therapy, and if you don't know that you're still indoctrinated, then you will still relate Christmas with all of the negative feelings that this cult indoctrinated you to relate them to.
And I let this peroxided, porn-addicted idiot yap for a little while.
And look, I'm nobody to say that this is the wrong way to celebrate Christmas. If that's what you want to do, then go ahead. But trauma dumping on your audience, or even on an audience that can't leave because they did.
Wow. That's fascinating. What to even say to that? Oh, there's a comment here too, saying that Wally's trauma dumping in the clip is taking that clip out of context. That is, to say the least. In that video, Wally's relating a life experience. Yeah, exactly.
He plays the parts of the video where he talks about the positive things about celebrating Christmas and how you should start your new rituals and all of that stuff, which is fine. I never said that he didn't. I said that even in a video where he talks about the importance of being positive in Christmas, he still felt the need to talk about some of the most tragic moments of his life. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I just found it odd because that's what I used to do. And I thought that maybe, being like, hey, if this is what you feel, you don't need to feel like this. You can just go talk to a therapist and you will get out of it. I thought that that was a good point to make, especially on Christmas season. Talking about therapy, however, for Wally is not really a good thing. It's in a little bit more like an insult. I'll show you what I mean.
We're saying the same thing. I like Christmas. I like decorating. I got the Christmas music going. I think it's great. And the whole point of that video that I made was when I see Jehovah's Witnesses struggling with the holidays around this time of year, was to try and use a little bit of creativity to combat that negativity that you have previously associated with Christmas and to alter your perception of it.
That does not work. Using creative thinking to force yourself to believing something is kind of what Jehovah's Witnesses want you to do.
Godly joy is a deep-seated quality of the heart. It's a state of happiness that remains whether the conditions around us are pleasant or not. Is it possible for a Christian always to be rejoicing? Yes, our joy comes from that deep inner satisfaction of knowing that we have the truth, that we're doing what pleases Jehovah, and that our kingdom hope is sure.
This is why I believe it's so important to go to therapy, because in therapy, you don't just force yourself to believe what you think you're supposed to believe, like you were supposed to do as a Jehovah's Witness, but you learn what are the roots of why you believe some stuff, and you can get rid of the things that you don't want to believe in from the roots because you can understand where they are and understand why they are wrong.
That, I guess, but apparently I need therapy. I need to work on deconstructing my indoctrination because I only associate negative things with Christmas. That's crazy.
That is crazy. It's almost offensive to anyone who has gone through therapy. Here's someone who laughs about the concept of needing therapy. I have always said that you, as a cult survivor, should go to therapy. For everything that I've criticized Lloyd throughout the years, credit where credit is due, Lloyd has always said, hey, you should go to a therapist, you should go to a mental health professional once you've escaped from a cult, is the first thing you need to do. Why? Well, because if you don't do it, if you don't deconstruct why you believe what you believe in, then you're just gonna force yourself to think of what you think is the right thing now without actually putting effort into deconstructing why you believed what you believed in the first place. That thing is still there. It's just, you just put a patch on top of it and being like, no, this is the wrong way of reacting to this specific thing. Because if you don't, you will still think of people in this disgusting way that the Jehovah's Witnesses taught you to think of. And in that Christmas video, check out what Wally says about someone at the gym whose only crime was to try to chat a little bit about how he had been helped by thinking positive things in his workout.
This is just how Wally sees the world and tries to tackle things. So, and every once in a while you get some guy with bleached blonde tips in his hair and he's on steroids, and, he's just a big guy, and he just starts talking to you. And you're just like, okay, whatever. I guess this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 15 minutes. And, you just got to talk about your routine and everything. And I was like, yeah, man, how did you get so jacked? Like, you're huge. You could eat me. And he's like, man, I see people and I come in here in the gym all the time. And they're fucking, they're just mad, bruh. And you can't be mad. Your just body's all full of this negativity and this energy, and you got to just leave all that stuff at the door, and you got to come in here and be positive, man. And I let this peroxided, porn-addicted idiot yap for a little while.
And you see why I'm weirded out at the thumbnail? Like, I have bleached hair, and I have done way worse than just telling him that he should think positive things. I would want to tell people that if this is the way that you think of people whose only crime is that they wanted to chat with you a little bit about positive thinking at the gym, I would hope that you know that you don't need to live like this. This makes you a very unhappy person.
I let this peroxided, porn-addicted idiot yap for a little while.
And you don't need to live like that. You can just go to a therapist. Maybe it is just like OCD. Like maybe it's not even like what you actually think. Like, I'm trying to come up with an explanation of why someone take this like to that level just because someone was trying to be nice to them at the gym. Like it really is beyond me. But if this is you, if you find yourself thinking about people like that, it is not healthy. And I would hope that you go to a therapist. A therapist is not going to judge you. They're going to give you the help that you need. Therapy is the best thing that I did for my own happiness, which is why I am so willing to recommend it when I see someone who I feel could be a little happier in their life. But unfortunately, that is not how Wally sees it.
That, I guess, but apparently I need therapy. I need to work on deconstructing my indoctrination because I only associate negative things with Christmas. That's crazy.
That's crazy. That is laughable. Thinking that you need to go to therapy to deconstruct your beliefs is just crazy and laughable. If someone tells you, hey, maybe you need to deconstruct this bit, that is the best way that you have to deconstruct your beliefs. Because if someone is pointing it out to you, then there is a chance that it's an issue. And if you've gone to therapy and if you put all of this effort into deconstructing your belief, you don't want to run the risk of ignoring an issue that you may still not have deconstructed because you know how damaging that is. So for someone to laugh at it, I don't know. I find it just a tad unhealthy. It's like someone laughing about the concept that they need to go to a doctor after they hit their head massively and being like, what? I could just use my head to figure out if my head is fine, don't you know? Like, no, you should go still to a doctor and let a doctor tell you that you don't need a doctor. Because if you do need a doctor, then you have everything to gain. And if you don't need a doctor, well, then let a doctor confirm that to you.
Easy. That's wild stuff. Anyway, I'm on to the next one. Oh boy. Okay, I won't speak a lot about this, but no, I've disliked Wally since he defended a friend of his wife and wrote a letter to try to prevent the survivor from getting a restriction order to protect herself. There is a lot of missing context to saying those words.
There is, so let me fill you in on the context. Wally here is talking about a now dissolved marriage of two people, a man and a woman, who used to be friends with both me and Wally. When they were getting a divorce, she came forward with the allegation that he had forced herself on her. More details on that. She wasn't pressing charges. She merely wanted a restriction order. And since I had met both of them in person, she asked me to write a letter recollecting my experience with her so she could use that in court and get that restriction order. The accused ex-husband didn't want her to get a restriction order, so he asked Wally to write a letter for the court supporting him. And Wally did just that. That is the context that is missing in a nutshell. If you want to learn more about the whole thing, the survivor came out publicly in an interview in my channel, so you can learn the whole context that Wally pretends is missing directly from the survivor, since that's where you should be learning from anyway. You might even be surprised to see how forgiving the survivor was towards Wally, far more than I was willing to be when I learned that he was writing in favor of someone like that for a court. To me, pretending to be for victims publicly, only to side with victimizers privately, just because they are your friends, is precisely why I dislike Jehovah's Witnesses the most. That is the context that Wally is avoiding, context that has been public and in this channel for months now, because he rather pretend that this is hearsay and that I started this in this comment, and not that the survivor was brave enough to share that in the channel. Wally, however, actively avoids that video and even stops himself from reading the bit that talks about where to find that context that he pretends doesn't exist and it's not important. I find it interesting that he will go to my own personal Reddit account when I say something negative against him, but in this scenario, he actively pretends the information the survivor made public doesn't exist, which, considering what he did before, I find to be an insult over injury at this point.
And again, there's a lot more details that are just missing here. But again, we don't need to talk about this. This has nothing to do with me or anyone else.
But that is the context that he's missing. Now, if you have a couple of friends who you know are in a bad relationship, and then one of them is like, hey, can you write a letter because this person forced themselves on me, and you don't fully believe them, let's say, right? You don't fully believe them. Things just don't fully square up. Maybe you tell them, hey, you know what, I don't feel fully comfortable doing this, but would you write a letter in favor of the person who she says forced himself on her? Now, if that was me, if that was my friend, and I believed in his innocence, I would still be like, dude, who cares about a restriction order? Just leave her alone. Just move on with your life. Like, I wouldn't write a letter in favor of the person when it comes to whether or not he is going to be affected by a restriction order. I think that it would be totally fine to not do that. However, there is a little bit more context because you see, this person who forced himself on his wife before the restriction order was filed, before the divorce started to happen, this person actually told me that he had forced himself on his wife before. And when he told me about it, he told me that only few people knew it, including Wally. Now, I'm not sure that I want to believe the word of someone who does that kind of thing to a woman, but it does put things a little bit in context, especially if I tell you that I was not surprised even in the minimum, especially after seeing how they interacted. However, let's check what Wally has to say about this.
Sure, you can construct things in a way that it's like, hey, Wally is an apologist. Wally is this person that wants to not protect survivors, but would rather protect. That's crazy. That is a wild, and when I said I don't have any ill intent or anger, I guess this actually makes me angry.
However, the way that Wally replies to it caught me off guard, and I found it extremely disturbing.
Hearing that word is my personal connection with that. Is me being, you know what, if we're going to go there and, someone wants to say stuff about me, let's do it. My personal connection to that is being 7 years old, watching my mom have sex in front of me, and then having to clean up with threats of violence when I was 7. That is my association with that particular word. This
reminded me of this interaction that I had with a Jehovah's Witness who I was trying to de-indoctrinate. Out of nowhere, the Jehovah's Witness just told me, hey, you are against Jehovah's Witnesses, but you don't know that I slit my wrists one time, and then I prayed to Jehovah, and then Jehovah gave me the strength, so I am there just because of Jehovah. You don't know this. I've never told anyone. Now, when that person told me that, I was like, what? Like, we're just talking about 1914. This has nothing to do with the argument. But I couldn't say that. At that moment, you kind of just have to, raise your hands and be like, I'm sorry. I didn't know about this. Not because this is a good reply. This is obviously just a deflection. But because you just caught a glimpse into the person's mind and just saw some of the demons that are tormenting them. And you realize that maybe they need to attend to those demons before you can fully help them, like, deconstruct their beliefs. Maybe they have some other issues that are far more important to attend at that moment. Now, unfortunately, we know what Wally would say about it.
Apparently, I need therapy. I need to work on deconstructing my indoctrination.
But after this horrible confession that, as far as I know, is the first time that he has done publicly in the channel, I am forced to just raise my hands and say, well, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you were going through this. I hope you get the help to solve those issues that you just told me about. And when I was watching this video originally, I realized, oh man, like maybe I went a little bit too hard on Wally. Like maybe he has like bigger issues that I didn't see. I am often way too worried about being right instead of kind, and it's an issue that I've had for multiple times. Maybe this is just like some sort of like cry for help or something. Like, I don't know, maybe I should make videos about Wally. And this is the moment that I decided that I was just not going to talk about Wally anymore, because just as this other person, you just need to raise your hands and just hope that they get the help that they need. Maybe afterwards, like maybe you can pick it up afterwards, but not now, not at this moment. It just would not be nice or effective or would lead to anywhere productive at all. But then he said some very odd things.
And it is very offensive to insinuate or promote the idea that I am an apologist for behavior that I find so just disgusting and has severely traumatized me on a personal level. Like, that's a pretty messed up thing to insinuate. And I do get every couple of weeks a message that comes through that someone wants to know my address because they want to report me to the police because I was the one that my wife, or there's all types of weird messages and DMs and emails that I've gotten as a result of this. And
I never said that Wally did anything to his wife. I just want to put that out there. I have never said that. And obviously, I do not condone any kind of harassment. Honestly, I kind of forget that Wally used to have a wife at some point, because it's not a thing that I have in my head most of the time. That being said, I find it very odd that he tried to just like add that in there and then just blame me for it. The most important thing that I've learned about people is that when they tell you who they are, you should listen. So in this bit, I just listened and moved on.
And I haven't said anything about it because I don't think it's my place to go and publicly talk about things that, again, I'm not clairvoyant. I am not clairvoyant. I am not was never trying to prevent anyone from getting a restriction order. I can only speak. All that happened was I gave my personal recollections and observations, and
in favor of the person who forced himself on his wife. And the context was his wife was trying to get a restriction order as they were finalizing the divorce.
And again, there's a lot more details that are just missing here. But again, we don't need to talk about this. This has nothing to do with me or anyone else. But to take that bit of information and say, oh, well, Wally, he just wants to support, that is a foul, disgusting accusation. And it doesn't make me very happy considering my experience with this. So please stop saying this. This goes kind of on, I don't have the wherewithal, and especially after that little rant, I don't have the internal bandwidth to even go through this anymore. So we're just going to kind of wrap it up there, but there's nothing.
He starts to wrap up there dramatically. This is obviously the most dramatic point of the video, so he knows that like this is the most dramatic part to end it. However, he can't help himself, and he, instead of ending it, continues to use doublespeak.
There's nothing wrong with criticizing me. I am a flawed human being that makes mistakes, and I try and clarify when those mistakes happen. Like, for instance, there was a video that I made about...
Okay, so it's okay to criticize him, but he made a video complaining that I criticized him with my own personal Reddit account on someone else's Reddit post. I mean, this video is sending a very clear message. If you criticize him on Reddit, he reserves the right to make a video about it, complaining about the fact that you complain about him. But then he tries to sneak like one more thing in there.
Try and clarify when those mistakes happen. Like, for instance, there was a video that I made about something that I misremembered or thought it was new. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. About donations and how Watchtower has started, in my view, tithing. I know maybe that word, to me, it's functional. I know, oh, well, it's not tithing because it's technically not 15% of your income. I'm saying, like, does your church organization thing require a prescribed amount of money? That, to me, is functionally tithing. So I use the word tithing. Words don't have specific definitions, more or less they have usages. Anyway, that's neither here.
Words do have specific definitions. The only people that will tell you that words don't really have like specific definitions are cults and people trying to manipulate you. Words have specific meanings. We can look them up in the dictionary. Tithing is giving 10% of your income, not 15%, and the Jehovah's Witnesses have never done that.
One of the funniest archetypes of people living here on planet Earth to laugh at are the people that like to play these stupid, ridiculous word games and say, oh, I didn't say that. What I actually said was this, where they're just like jumping around and using non-ordinary definitions of things to try and weasel their way out of something. When at the end of the day, we all know what you're saying and we all know what you mean, and you can't hide behind your stupid little word games.
Wally made a video saying the Jehovah's Witnesses started tithing or something like that, where he said that, yes, Jehovah's Witnesses started tithing, not because they were charging 10% to people, but because they had passed a few papers to Jehovah's Witnesses so they could write on a resolution of how much they wanted to donate. Now, he believed that this was new, and he believed that this meant that the Jehovah's Witnesses had started doing tithing. I wasn't the first one to criticize him for this because of the inaccuracy. Ron Pomo, someone who I consider to be a proper activist, actually commented on that video, and he said this: they've been doing this for years, maybe even 10 to 12 years plus, buddy. I'm pretty sure our congregation even announced the per publisher amount for the resolution. Sorry, not a new change, not historic, totally hypocritical and double speak. So you see, I'm not the first one to notice this. Wally simply pinned the comment and said, I guess I had my hand in my can of beans because I had never heard of it. LOL. Well, I guess for those who have never heard it, we can all get our dose of righteous indignation. He still refused to admit that he did something wrong, even though someone was calling him out on the comment. Who wasn't me, by the way. And to try to defend it, he's still trying to promote the exact same thing that he said on the video.
That's neither here nor there. And I made that whole video, and someone brought up, oh, actually, they've been doing this for a while now, since like 2018. And I'm like, okay. Is that spreading misinformation? Because the claim about it, I guess I can try and pull one up here, put it on screen, whatever. Is that spreading misinformation?
Yes, it is spreading misinformation. Tithing is not what the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing. That is not tithing. And also, they have been doing this for well over a decade. Now, he puts this bit that I posted on my community tab, where I said, did Jehovah's Witnesses start tithing? No. Please stop giving support to people who are more worried about how they can clickbait their way to relevancy and not worried at all if they have to continuously misrepresent the truth to do it. Funnily enough, I don't mention Wally in this bit, right? Wally is putting here this because he knows that this applies to him and he wants to complain that I've called him out on it. But I didn't call him out directly here. If I felt called out on something and it doesn't have my name on it, I would use it as a moment of self-reflection. It's all I'm saying.
In my view, it's not. Like, if Watchtower never started prescribing a set amount of money that was to be donated to them, and through that video, I gave the entire history all the way back to Charles Taze Russell, and then, what it is today, just so we'd have like this full timeline. If they had never sent out any of those elders' letter, or never have anything that is near enough to tithing, that in my head, it doesn't make much difference, then yes, that would be spreading misinformation. I would be lying to people if I got bamboozled by some deep fake, and I was trying to convince people that, no, it's real, it's true. But we're talking about me saying, hey, I need to go and talk to Sally, John's wife, because I know that John had an affair on April 11th. And John says, no, you're spreading lies and misinformation. I had an affair on April 16th. You are a liar. You are spreading misinformation about me, damn it. And it's like, brother, so all you're admitting to is that you had an affair on a different date? Like, that's how I...
yeah, that is moving the goalpost. If you say, hey, someone had an affair on this date, and then they're like, no, it wasn't on this date, you still got it wrong. I don't really understand this bit. This is called moving the goalpost.
That's how I see that. If you see it differently, that's fine. But in my mind, keeping that video up was still useful because it does create an entire timeline of the history of Watchtower's donation policies.
It's wrong because it creates the wrong timeline. You thought they had just started doing that, and they hadn't. They've been doing this for well over a decade. someone else comment, like, this is not me saying this is like an actual activist saying that to him in that video. And again, you may think, oh, it's fine because he pinned that comment is saying the right thing, so it's totally okay. But that is why when talking about that video that Wally had, I said video is still up and monetized, with the only retraction being a reply to a comment. He might have realized his mistake, but he certainly didn't correct it. That is the issue that I had. He was spreading misinformation by saying that this was a brand new thing that they were doing, and he still didn't do anything about it, even when he was called out by other people, me included, but not limited to. And even now, he's continues to misrepresent the truth, trying to rewrite history and make it seem so he did something that is less worse than what actually happened.
And the only thing that's wrong is it's off by like 5 years. So the only claim to misinformation, if you're a Jehovah's Witness watching that, like, what are they going to say? Look at these apostates spreading misinformation about our organization. We've actually been secretly tithing from our members for the last 8 years. It's not new.
Again, it's not for the last 8 years. Someone else already corrected you. And yes, that is what Jehovah's Witnesses would say. And I think this is a good time to tell you why I care so much about accuracy. And this is something that I've never told anybody about my waking up process. But officially, my waking up process started with a call from someone who used to be an elder. And I started to do some research on this again, because I had already started doing research a year before that. The very first apostate YouTube video that I was willing to watch was a YouTube video by Owen from Telltale. I guess Owen is gonna make a video about me now because I complain about him. Now, I can't fully remember the video, I'm not gonna look it up, but in that video, he says that you can get this fellowship for owning old books from Watchtower. I knew that that wasn't the case because I had literally just been to some elder's house who had very old books of Russell and Rutherford, and he showed it to me very proudly. So I knew that he got that wrong. And at that moment, since I was desperate to try to find any way to discredit any kind of information against my beliefs, I allowed that video to play into my own bias because I didn't want to believe apostates. And by hearing that misinformation, I believed what the Watchtower told me, that apostates didn't really care about accuracy. They only care about misrepresenting the truth, that they were only angry and bitter and spreading lies about the religion. And I didn't watch anything else after that. I could have woken up, maybe, possibly, a year before. I could have gained control of my life 1 year before. I could have been a year further advanced into my life right now if that video had been just a little bit more accurate. Maybe. I don't want to blame Owen. Obviously, my waking up process is my own responsibility. But that is why I care so much about misinformation in my channel, and why I care so much about getting things accurately, and why I get so upset when people with far bigger platforms don't seem to have that care, because I am afraid that someone is going to be like me, very willing to dismiss apostates at the first moment, and someone with a far larger platform than me doing this has a better chance of encountering someone who is going to cling to any bit of misinformation to dismiss all of us altogether. That is why I care so much about this, and that is why I call people out when they don't get it right, because I know that the chances of someone being exactly like me and, going through that bias and all of that stuff are low. But the larger your platform is, the more likely it is that someone like that is going to encounter your channel. So I feel the larger your platform is, the more important it is to be accurate.
New? Like, okay, cool. Have at it. I would very much like to see a governing body member try and defend and talk about how Watchtower apostates are spreading misinformation and they've actually been tithing. That would be very funny. So there's a lot.
Why would a governing body member talk about how Wally is spreading misinformation? I don't understand. Does Wally think they do that?
A lot of those instances, before in times past, there's been like where a news story was developing and the new information became available. And then I was retroactively, so after there's new information, but I made a video about what the original information was. I believe he was saying, oh no, you are lying to people because you're not saying it. And it's like, no, the information was updated. And so I updated my information. Anyway, I can go on and on. Why is it?
I don't know what he's referring to. He doesn't give any more information. If you are confounded because you don't know what he's referring to, or what is the issue that I called him out, well, I'm also confused. I am the one who's supposed to have done this, and I don't know what he's talking about.
Why is this? What is this? I don't really know.
It's drama. It's drama. I don't know if you actually don't really know, or if you don't really want to say, but this is you airing your grievances with other YouTube creator, which is the definition of drama. This is drama.
I can only guess. If I had to guess, I think that it's coming from a genuine place. I think it's coming from a place of...
This is a bit where he tries to psychoanalyze me there, which is kind of nice.
Passion and wanting to do the right thing, but maybe some of the perception is a little bit off. Not to get into a deep neurological discussion here, but your brain in certain states can actually bias information, and your perception of the world can literally change. I've battled severe depression for very long. So you can have a conversation with someone. Everything seems fine, totally normal. And 90% of that conversation is totally positive and nice and good. But when you walk away from that, you will only remember that 10% that made you feel insecure, made you feel angry, made you feel mad. And then you'll think, man, that conversation was terrible, even though it was only 1% of it, or a tiny little thing. And even that tiny little thing was misconstrued. And that...
Well, yeah, I mean, what was the 10%? If that 10% is hey, I would love for you to spank me right now, that can even be just 1% of the conversation. The conversation is soured at that point. I don't understand what he's trying to say. I don't understand if this is more toxic positivity, or what is the point that he's trying to say. But yeah, even just 1% can just ruin an entire conversation.
Again, I have no idea, but if I had to guess, I think that maybe he is doing this from a place of trying to do the right thing. It is a little weird going through some of this, hearing the expression, my audience, my viewers. Dog, you don't own people. You do not, slavery is dead. They're not yours. This is not a possessive thing. They're people that watch.
Wait, so nobody has called Wally my friend? When I say my audience and that he's lying to my audience, what I mean is that when he says something to his audience, since my audience is just a tiny percentage in the Venn diagram of his audience, pretty much all of my audience watches him. So if you want to get technical, I feel like I have a fraction of his audience as my audience. So when he says something to his audience, then he's saying it also to the people who watch me, XJW Caleb. So it directly affects me because it affects the people who I usually talk to, who watch my channel, who engage with my channel. I don't know, where is this coming? Should I not be saying my audience? Should I call you guys Calebites or something?
People that watch your videos, they are independent, autonomous people. They are not yours to keep. You shouldn't be telling people what to think, at least in how I see it. I mean, I can say oh yeah, my viewers and stuff casually, but when you say it from a guardianship perspective, it's kind of odd. But
wait, so he can say it, but then I can't say it. Okay, this is just more double talk. I shouldn't have wasted that moment trying to explain it.
Putting all of those things together, maybe just the perception is off. I don't, even this video, Mr. XJW Caleb, if you're watching it, I highly doubt anything that I could ever say would be very compelling. Maybe you just don't like me. And that is okay.
You'll often find that the producers started out with a negative view of Jehovah's Witnesses, and then they looked for information to support their prejudice.
But I suppose maybe it's just best to just disengage a little bit, I suppose. I don't know.
Did he catch himself? Was he going to be I suppose it's better for you to shut up or something? But then he was oh no, wait, I can't say that because I did say that. Criticizing me is fine. Again, I'm just one person criticizing him, and he made a whole video just being this guy, I'm not beyond criticism, but this guy criticizing him, he needs to stop. He needs to disengage right now because I don't like it.
What's the goal? What's the point?
The goal and the point is to try to make this community a better place. I would like for someone to call me out when I do these kinds of things. If I was engaging in this kind of behavior, I would like for people to call me out. Or if someone saw something that maybe I haven't fully deconstruct, I would love for people to call me out so I can get on it.
If I do genuinely get something wrong, I promise you the comment section will be flooded with people informing me that I've gotten something wrong and I can make necessary adjustments and changes.
This is amazing. This is exactly what Jehovah's Witnesses say.
Now, the governing body realizes that if we were to give some direction that is not in harmony with God's word, all of Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide who have the Bible would notice that, and they would see that it was wrong direction.
How though? You've left no way for a Jehovah's Witness to criticize you, and in this case, Wally left no way for anyone to criticize him. You can make a comment criticizing him on Reddit and he's still going to put it in a video. And the commenters have told you that you got things wrong. It did not work already.
But is a mistake or an error to be celebrated? Like, yes, woo, Wally got something wrong. Yeah, let's dunk on him for it. It's like, okay.
I don't think I've ever celebrated the fact that he has gotten anything wrong. Please show me when I've ever done this, because otherwise this is just like a strawman argument. I don't want for him to get things wrong. I think that hurts the whole cause. That is why I called him out on one live stream for like 10 seconds and like on my personal Reddit account.
Okay, or if he doesn't get something wrong, we have to just completely misrepresent the thing said in order to fit the agenda. Again, that sounds more malicious, and I do not think that that's what's happening personally. Anyway,
at this point, I think that you see who is the person who's misrepresenting the argument and who is obfuscating the truth, who is using double talk, and who is spending a whole video talking about drama, trying to say that it is not about drama.
Wait, for anyone that is been soured by my content that I make or anything because of any of this, I hope that maybe offers a little bit of clarification. I know sometimes people don't take really the time to like double check or fact check things. They'll just believe it off of the first rip. And so I suppose
you didn't take the chance to fact check the whole video was based on someone else's research. Like you said this.
Also, quickly before we get into it, just wanted to say a quick thank you to the persons who sent this to me. I don't really track the things said about me online. I'm gonna be completely honest, don't really care, but I decided that we should clear the air on a few of these things. But I do want to say, hey, it made my life a lot easier by having all of this kind of compacted, so it was easy to put together and didn't have to spend all day on it. Anyway,
what?
Suppose no one is going to be watching. Anyone that is soured off of that is even going to be watching this video. I don't even know what all of this is. Anyway, I just wanted to address some of that because, again, it was a mild irritation. I wish everyone the best. I wish everyone, success in your life, all of that good stuff.
Oh, no outro this time. Well, I think the outro doesn't really go with the intent of this whole video. But he said something very, very funny. He said that he doesn't think this is malicious. And now that I've heard his analysis, I don't think that my issues that I've had with him have come from a malicious place either. Because this video itself is riddled with the same kind of fallacies that Jehovah's Witnesses use to explain and justify their beliefs. And I don't think that this is coming from a place of malice either. I don't think that Wally is doing this because he dislikes me and he is actively using every single trick in the book that he can possibly use to go against what I said because I criticized him and he didn't like it. I think that he thinks that in this video he was cooking, just as when we were Jehovah's Witnesses and we used the exact same double speak and all of these other logical fallacies, we thought that we were cooking and the other people just did not get it. So at this point, I was just confounded. Like, should I just make a video about this? Should I just ignore the whole thing? Is it even possible for me to ignore? Like, sure, compared to my channel, he has a gigantic platform, and he made a whole video just spreading double talk and misinformation about me and defending the misinformation that he talked about. And if I go against Jehovah's Witnesses for misinformation, should I go against him for misinformation? Because sure, Jehovah's Witnesses are far more damaging than Wally. I'm not gonna say that Wally is a cult, but my viewers, or well, the viewers of XJW Caleb, don't really believe in Jehovah's Witnesses when they say all of this stuff, like all of this misinformation. And when they use all of these logical fallacies to obfuscate the truth. But then, even though he's finishing up this video, he forgot that he still had one more grievance against me.
Good stuff. I'm done. See you later. No, I lied. There's one other thing I want to talk about. This whole concept of fake positivity, because my old outro was don't forget to smile. I've already explained this before, but I don't know how it keeps coming up. Well, I say I don't know. I know exactly how it keeps coming up, but I have never been a proponent of telling people to simply put on a fake smile. And just, hey, pretty girl, smile. So that should be you. That whole don't forget to smile, as I've explained before, is a artifact of me trying to retrain my brain because I have those perception biases where I can perceive the world as being overwhelmingly negative.
Which is probably why therapy would be a good idea. Now, this part puts everything that Wally has done all throughout this video trying to criticize me on display. Because he uses everything. He uses doublespeak. He uses willingly misrepresenting of the argument. He cherry picks everything that I've talked about. What I've talked about Wally doing is basically here because he just shows you the thumbnail of the video that I made talking about toxic positivity and how Wally does it and how Wally uses it. Except that's not what I did. There is a reason why he exclusively shows you the thumbnail because I went through that video confused because I really did not remember mentioning anything about Wally in that video. And in that video, guess what? Wally is nowhere to be mentioned. His outro, don't forget to smile, is nowhere to be mentioned. This video is fully, exclusively about Jehovah's Witnesses and how they use toxic positivity. It's 13 minutes long. Where would I have fit Wally there? The only thing that he has to go for is that I put, don't forget to smile, on the thumbnail. Now, I made that video because I thought that toxic positivity was a very strong tool that Jehovah's Witnesses use to indoctrinate people and to keep people indoctrinated. Not just indoctrinated, but if you're only able to think positive things about the cult, then you shouldn't be able to criticize it because that's not being positive, right? There is nothing about Wally or his videos in the whole video. The only thing that he has to show is the thumbnail. Because when I was making the thumbnail, I thought, well, who is the governing body member with the creepiest smile? Well, it's obviously Stephen Lett. I'm gonna make him have a bigger smile so he looks creepier. Now, what can he be saying to other people that relates this toxic positivity? I remember what my manager at Starbucks used to tell me, don't forget to smile every time before my shift. I hated it. It always got on my nerves, so I'm gonna use that bit. Wally obviously did not come up with the don't forget to smile phrase. My manager did. This whole video is exclusively about criticizing Jehovah's Witnesses. But he is complaining about me making a video about Jehovah's Witnesses because some other viewers, independent of me, maybe saw that video and was like, hey, I think I'm able to identify some toxic positivity traits in you. And apparently that is my fault? I don't get it. I can't even make videos criticizing Jehovah's Witnesses because his audience may tell him, hey, you're doing something wrong based on what I talked about Jehovah's Witnesses. This isn't even about just being unable to criticize Wally. Should I just not criticize Jehovah's Witnesses if I think Wally does something like that? Throughout all of this video, I've been trying to correlate it to how Jehovah's Witnesses behave, but no Jehovah's Witnesses has ever done this. Imagine if Jehovah's Witnesses pointed out Alicia Greenfield and they were like, oh, Alicia Greenfield does videos against Mormons and we don't like that because we feel that sometimes the cult tactics that she mentions are kind of applicable to us and we don't like that because Jehovah's Witnesses look at it and they call us out on it. Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't do it, but Wally did. Should I just ask for permission every time that I am making a video about Jehovah's Witnesses? If instead of making this video, I would have made a video about doublespeak, would Wally also be like, oh, Caleb made this video that I didn't like because Jehovah's Witnesses do doublespeak and I kind of do that also? And he's screwing up the back for me. Should I send him the script beforehand to make sure that he likes how I'm covering Jehovah's Witnesses so he doesn't feel like I'm talking about him when I talk about how Jehovah's Witnesses use cult indoctrinations efforts? Look, if I talk about Jehovah's Witnesses and how they use cult indoctrinations efforts and you feel like I'm talking about you, then maybe that should be a little moment of pause and reflection. If I make videos about cults and how they work and Wally's audience are like, hey, you know what? You do a little bit of that too, we think, independently of what I said, because I didn't even mention Wally. How is that my fault? Why is this here? Is this not a little bit of a self-report because that I made a video about Jehovah's Witnesses and Wally is complaining because he thinks that it's about him?
If you are honest about your day, you will find something that was positive, that made you happy, that was worth living for. That even when things get real hard and when they get really dark, that the fight is worth it. And that to be alive is such a wonderful, I'm going to use that expression, but it's apt. I don't really believe in that, but a blessing. It is such a blessing just to exist and be alive. And reminding myself to smile, that there was something that positive happened. That has always been the message behind that expression. And I will still get people, even longtime friendlists of the channel, that are like, aren't you the person that told Pretty Girl smile? It's like, no. Someone maybe insinuated that about me, but...
Wait, is that me? Was I the one who insinuated that about him? I don't understand. Didn't Wally just say that if he makes something wrong, his audience is gonna let him know?
If I do genuinely get something wrong, I promise you the comment section will be flooded with people informing me that I've gotten something wrong and I can make necessary adjustments and changes.
What is this then? This isn't me telling him anything. This is me making a video about Jehovah's Witnesses and his audience being like, hey, I think you should listen to this. I thought that was okay.
I am way beyond all of that. I try and promote the idea that you can, with creative thinking, start finding solutions to things instead of overly dwelling on, not dwelling, just braising your lamb shanks in a soup of negatively biased information that you're taking in from the world. That at a certain point...
Yeah, and I try to promote the idea that you should just go to therapy. It's far easier and it's far more effective. And judging by this video, it has better results.
I'm going to actively work on retraining my reactions to this. Like, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, so I was homophobic. And when I see two men on the street holding hands, it makes me like, ugh. Okay, well, I don't want to be that person anymore. So now I need to train my mind and my body to not have that reaction of, ugh, because that's what it does. That is a very real thing that I had to work through. And you do this with every single little tiny thing in your life. And it's not just, well, you just need to be happy. No, but it's learning.
No, that is not how it works. If you go, ugh, when you see homosexuals, that's probably because you still believe what Jehovah's Witnesses taught you about homosexuals, which is why it is very important not just to be like, oh, instead of being, I'm just going to be like, yay. It's important to go to therapy so you figure out why you believe in those things. Because once you figure out why you believe in those things, then you'll figure out why you are wrong, because that is not the right way of thinking. You will figure out where your thinking went wrong, where your thinking is flawed, and now you can fix that issue from the root, not just put up makeup on it. Because sure, you may not go, when you see gay people anymore, but you may still go like,
I've let this peroxided, porn-addicted idiot yap for a little while. And I've always been a big proponent of that, and it is endlessly fascinating how that message that I've been so clear on has become pretty girls need to smile. Blows me away. But again, minds are a fascinating thing. This time, for real, I'm over. Goodbye. Talk to you later.
That is how Wally ends his video. So to summarize, Wally made a drama video saying that it wasn't drama, complaining that I compared his inaccurate coverage of Norway to Watchtower coverage of Norway, which he did, and I hope I showed it mathematically by now. Complained that I criticized him from my own personal account on a Reddit post, complained that I accurately mentioned his letter in favor of someone who forced himself on their spouse just so the spouse couldn't get a restriction order against Wally's friend, and complained that I made a video about Jehovah's Witnesses that does not have a single reference to him that he did not like, all throughout using more doublespeak, laughing at the idea of therapy, and misrepresenting arguments. This is the part where I tell you that I care so much about Wally, and then I hope that he changes his mind on therapy, because it was the best decision that I could have made, and I want him to feel that what I felt, this amazing happiness that comes from actually solving your issues with a therapist. And that way you think that I am a really nice person, that I am really positive, and that I'm such a nice person. Oh, look at this guy just being so nice to this content creator that made a 40-minute video complaining to almost 15,000 people about me specifically. But I am not going to fake being this toxic, nice guy that I am not. In reality, I do not like Wally Barnett. I don't particularly care about Wally Barnett. I have had just a couple of interactions with him, and the few interactions that I've had with him have been pretty negative, and way too much like the interactions that I have with Jehovah's Witnesses for comfort. The only thing that I care about is cult indoctrination and cult manipulation tactics. And guess what? This is what this video was about all along. I tricked all of you. I literally opened by saying that this was all gonna be all about drama, but I tricked you. All throughout this video, I've literally been talking about cult indoctrination tactics and manipulation tactics. Do you have any idea how long I've been wanting to talk about doublespeak? Jehovah's Witnesses haven't given me a recent example that is as good as this one in years. The way that I approach this video is the exact same way that I approach Jehovah's Witnesses videos, and the things that I focus on, the manipulation tactics, the logical fallacies, doublespeak, and all of that stuff, is the things that I usually focus on when I'm analyzing Jehovah's Witnesses videos. This is what my channel is about. The only difference is that now I use Wally's video against me as a framing device to talk about how Jehovah's Witness indoctrination works. I can't help myself. I've made over 200 videos about it, and this was not an exception. Wally instead made a video not talking about cult indoctrination tactics or any of that, just complaining that someone criticized him. And to me, this is the best evidence that he doesn't really care about being actually nice or positive. He could have just contacted me personally. He didn't have to make drama. And if he felt like he needed to make drama, then he could have just admitted that that's what he was doing.
This isn't any drama.
But he didn't do any of that. He made this video because he knows how YouTube drama works. He knows that I'm gonna get a whole bunch of hateful comments and people unsubscribing to the channel. And he knows that the main issue that he may get is that people do not like drama. So by opening up, by saying that this isn't drama, he's hoping to reap all of the rewards of creating drama while pretending that he's not doing exactly that. And it's disheartening to see that it worked with more people than I thought it would work in this community of ours that is about identifying cult indoctrination tactics. But if you don't like this kind of videos, don't worry, I am not gonna make another video about Wally. I've already said my piece, and I have come to realize that it's just not worth it. I should worry far more on being kinder and not, instead of focusing on issues on other people, even when those issues are the issues that I promise myself that I will always call out. So from this point on, I'm just gonna focus on Jehovah's Witness stuff. I don't think I'm even gonna mention Lloyd anymore, even though literally nobody complains when I leverage the exact same criticism towards Lloyd. I mean, most of the criticism that I leveraged towards Wally was also leveraged towards Lloyd, but there was not even one person who defended him. But hey, I know that there's still gonna be a whole bunch of people that are gonna be like, no, it's just, I still believe that unity is what we need in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. I still believe that if apostates don't get along, then Watchtower gets happy. Just as Watchtower told me that if Jehovah's Witnesses don't get along, then Satan gets happy. So if you're still upset that I'm making all of this video talking about drama, about another ex-Jehovah's Witness YouTube creator, just remember,
this isn't any drama.